Hey everyone, this is Gia Felder with Gia Felder Realtor LLC, brokered by Village Premier Collection of Georgia. And I am here today with the lovely Kim Hughes. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process of using a closing attorney that's required here. And of course, Kim is going to talk about that a little bit more. But here with her, she's going to share some information and hope this is valuable to you guys. So Kim, how about you introduce yourself?
Hey, Gia, and for all those watching, I am Kim Hughes. I'm the owner and founder of Hughes Associates, which is a full-service real estate closing firm in Atlanta, Georgia, metro area. And I've been practicing for over 25 years, have my own firm for about 15, actually going on 16, I think it'll be October. And so really just, pretty much enjoy my work. I'm actually not a official Southern peach, although I do like to claim that now. It's been over 20 years, so I think I can do that. But I'm originally from Jersey, went to school in the DMV area. I went to University of Maryland undergrad at College Park, and then finished up law school in American University in DC before transitioning here to Atlanta. So.
There's something that I definitely think a lot of clients don't know about, and it's around that earnest money. And I've been with a few brokerages and they handle it differently, but I would have to say I like how Village handles it. Before I got to them, everything was sent to, the earnest money was sent to the closing attorney. Now, is that something that you think is a good idea to have earnest money be held by the closing attorney? And you can say yes or no. So, and then, whatever your answer is, share why you think.
Yeah. Well, this is a fairly new thing too. Just like the pictures at closing, this is a whole, it's years ago, it always went to one brokerage or the other.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, I loved. Because it's one less thing I have to think about. Because with earnest money comes, if it doesn't actually make the closing and we have to, either refund earnest money because of terminations or what have you. And then if there's a dispute, that's all stuff I don't get paid for, So it's an extra administrative thing that we have to handle. But at the end of the day, agents are very fickle and very, they want what they want. So if you say, oh, we don't hold earnest money, well, so-and-so down the street holds the earnest money, so it's like you almost got to do it. So no, I don't mind being transparent. I don't like holding earnest money, but nonetheless,
I don't think anybody likes holding the earnest money.
And that's the whole thing. Like once brokerages, because I think they, for a while, they really, like told you years, this didn't happen. I think they were like, oh no, the attorney doesn't hold it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like probably in rare cases or big commercial deals, maybe so, but that wasn't even a thought for them. Now it's a given, you know what I mean? It's a given. And so we have to adjust. I mean, this is the part where in business, if you want to be in and you want, clients and you want people to come use you got to accommodate, just like any other store, or I say store, but any other store, service, or whatever. If you want your customer base to utilize you, you got to find ways to get an edge. And you definitely can't not do what your competitors are doing all day long. You know what I mean? You definitely can't not do that. So, yeah. So it's one of those things that just is par for the course, which a lot of times in business and particularly in what we do, it just is what it is.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for the honesty.
My true honest girl, I got to keep it real, okay?
Yeah, that's what I want.
That's right.
That's exactly what I want. So I don't know, because I did send you these questions, but something that you have found that was unusual or crazy or weird that has come across to you while you were, processing everything, Can you name a couple of things that that you found like interesting, that maybe you never experienced before, or it was new to you?
Yeah, I mean, how can I say this? In closings, it always seems like something comes up, but there are situations where, how can I say, nothing really like unusual or crazy. It's just I guess I'll address it like this. The one thing about real estate that people don't realize is that it actually touches on several other areas of law. Okay, so what I mean by that, because I practice other areas of law, and every area that I got into really was an offshoot from my closing practice. And so what I mean by that is like, so when I first started, I was like, did closings, that's all I did. But then I would have situations where a company had a business and it was an investor who was, selling or purchasing. And, I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, this was years ago, but okay, now what do I do with this? Well, if they're an LLC, you got to make sure you get the operating agreement. You got to make sure that the person who's signing, it's all these things. So I ended up doing business corporate law kind of that way, right? It comes to estate planning and what I do with wills and probate and that kind of thing. Well, if someone is deceased and their executor is trying to sell the property or their administrator, well, we have to understand probate because we got to make sure that they got proper, authority from the court. They are the actual one on behalf of the estate and all those kind of things. So, and the thing about it is sometimes people don't even know. Like I'll get calls. Yeah, I get calls. My grandmother passed. Yeah. She didn't have a will and she owns property, but I've been paying the taxes. Well, I'm saying, wake up call, you don't own the property just because you pay taxes on it, right? But these are things that people don't know because, again, like I said, I'm making light of that. But no, what you don't know, you just don't know. So you think I'm paying taxes, but now they want to sell. And so they call to say, what do I have to do? I was like, well, I have to ask questions to decipher which way or strategy needs to be used to be able to deal with a conveyance of that property. But at the end of the day, it's not, clear cut. Bankruptcy is another area. I don't about to say that. Yeah, now I don't do
the other one. Yeah, not knowing about someone else on the title and then bankruptcy.
Yeah. And so when it comes to, now I don't do bankruptcy. That's an area I did not want to go into, but I have to know a little bit about it. And so with that, because that's actually a question we ask. I was telling you about those questionnaires that we send out. So we ask people, if they're in current bankruptcy or what have you, because we first of all check it. We have a way to research that because, oh no, I can bring up something around that issue because let me just finish my train of thought with that there are processes depending on what chapter of bankruptcy, depending on whether there's a mortgage, all of those things, there may be approvals from the bankruptcy court. You just can't sell your property. There may be, if you have a chapter 13 and you're paying on certain debt, the money actually has to go to the trustee. Now, I had a closing last month where fortunately, the people were able to get some money from closing, but there was a portion that had to go to the trustee to pay up the balance of those creditors through the bankruptcy. But I had a situation where one time all those proceeds went to the trustee, and yeah, so people aren't selling, only thing agents got paid, of course, because somebody has to sell and all that, but the seller was not going to get paid, because of what was involved. But the funniest, I don't know if this was funny to the parties, but I'll just say this. It was a cash transaction. So somebody was trying to purchase a property cash and we kept having a hard time getting the seller to fill out, and there was no mortgage or anything like that. So, we can do a quicker turnaround, but I kept telling, seller, we need that seller information sheet because again, on there, we're getting their social and we could do the search. They didn't want to do that or whatever. I was like, okay, well, when we get to the table. So they got to the table. I said, here, fill out this form, provide your social, and I'll be right back. So I went, did the bankruptcy search, and he was in current bankruptcy. So I'm like, sir, you can't sell this property. Now we kept asking and telling and even explained why we needed it. But I'm like, I'll let you come. But if you come, so of course, you know, and I explained to both parties, but they were both looking at me like, oh, you know, like dumbfounded. I'm like, this is why we said, let's get it in advance, because then you wouldn't have gone this far. But they both walked away, and, you know, I don't know what happened after that, because he really had to go through a process to even get approval. And I just think they just, you know, but it was a waste of time, you know, and it didn't have to get to that point.
And I guess, and some people, when they ignore it, they think, oh, you know,
it's just going to go away, or maybe the attorney will forget. Yeah, or what have you, and that could happen. The attorney could forget. But no, I make notes. I'm like, no, you know, because the one thing too, you know, I'll say, you didn't specifically ask me this question, but so people understand, you know, the real estate is like, there's one deal is what could be, I mean, nowadays, what, $400,000. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
And so as the closing attorneys, people don't really think about this, but we have a weight of responsibility on our shoulders, like bar none, more than anybody in the transaction, because we got to make sure title's clear. We got to make sure all the payoffs are out, insurance checks for the buyers. We got to, you know, disperse commission to the agents, make sure all that is right. All of those kind of things. It's a lot of work. And if you're doing it right, you as an attorney, when you're doing it right, you understand that and you take the time. So when there are times where agents, that's why I said, if there's anything I can do is setting up, or my team can do, is setting expectations so people understand. But if people get mad at me because they have a title issue and it's taking 30 to 45 days to clear, and you don't understand why I can't just see your statement that says this is the bound. No. I'm sorry. If you get mad at me for trying to do a job, I can't help you. But what we can say is we're going to put 110% effort to making sure that everything gets done properly.
Awesome. So you mentioned this, you touched on it. What other services besides the real estate transaction do you handle?
Right. So we do business corporate law. So we work with small businesses on different matters, helping set up LLCs and operating agreements and all those kind of things. But even if there's a situation that they need advisement on or get into trouble about, we kind of step in and help. And so a lot of my business corporate clients really stem from them as dealing in real estate and all of that. And so kind of they have real estate stuff going on, and that's kind of how I come into the picture. But then when they understand I do business corporate matters, then it pulls me into other things with them. So we do that. We do wills, set up trusts and things like that. We can also do probate. But depending on my capacity at any given time, you know, I do have referrals for that, because probate it's like a form of litigation, you know, so it takes time, you know, and that's the thing that people don't always understand, that especially in COVID, like I had one probate that I did, and this is why I said, okay, I'm going to take a break from probate for a minute, but it took like a year to get what we needed to give them the authority to sell the property. And I'm not going to name the county, but this county was, is kind of notorious since COVID to not be like back up, like, you know, it's like they weren't even trying. They were just like, we're just going to do what we need to do. And in all fairness, we, you know, there were some things, additional things that the court wanted to see and all of that. So, but at the end of the day, a year, when normally pre-COVID, like probate might take a few months.
Okay.
You know.
Nice. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for you.
Oh, you are easy. Thank you for not being hard on me, Gia.
No, I would never. I like the fact that there are closing attorneys. For me, it just puts, you know, the weight off of our shoulders, because we got, you know, another line of professionals that can handle, you know, a real estate transaction and the closing. And, you know, with you guys' knowledge and, you know, being able to share that information with us, it just helps us as real estate.
Yeah, no. And that's why, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think, you know, that's why I do what I do. I like to empower, you know, agents, because when you're effective at what you do, and that maybe is kind of pivoting around to your question, that makes it easier on us, right? And so I love when agents are proactive and involved in the transaction, because what I can tell you is, and it's amazing to me, but it's just like in any profession, someone can have a license, they can have a certification, but really that doesn't mean anything. Yep. It's how are your intangibles governing your actions in your profession. And so when agents, and I love too when agents say, you know, I'm kind of new in the business, but I wanted to talk to you to get some insight. I love that, because I'm like, you're trying to empower yourself. You're not just somebody who takes a license and tries to collect a check, you know, and on to the next. Like, you're invested in your clients throughout a process. And I explain the process. It's not, people don't do it every day. So I feel like having some guidance and knowing that you have a trusted advisor that's there with you just makes a world of difference. And so I've seen a host of wonderful agents as in my career, but then, you know, you see some others too. And it's like, wow, you know, you can definitely tell the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And this main reason for this video here and some of the other videos, just to have clients, you know, buyers and sellers, to not just hear from us. Right. Now they hear from the professionals.
Absolutely.
That they're going to run, you know, meet up with and run into and go through this process with. Right. Now, Kim Hughes, they have now heard from you. So when I say it, and now you've said it, they'll believe me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to be a part of this. I think when you reached out to me, I was like, oh, that's great. And that's what I'm talking about, Gia. Like, you don't have to do this for people. You know, you just said, you know, I'm an agent. Your job is to get contracts and to see people to closing. But that is kind of one thing that I love about what's happening now with agents who understand, like, okay, there's more that we can provide in education and a level of service. And thank God for Zoom, right? Zoom is a whole nother platform that makes it easier to do that. But you do not have to do this either. So I do have to give you kudos for trying to bring together those professionals for your audience. So I'm so glad to have been able to be a part.
Thank you so much. Well, again, I appreciate it. And I'm hoping to meet you at the closing table.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be looking out for you.
And I can show them these videos, like, here's the person that you're going to meet, either her or her colleague.
Right. So, well, we look forward to it.
Yes. Thank you so much. And you have a good evening. Thank you guys for watching, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.